Hey guys, welcome or welcome back. My name is JC. If you haven't seen my face before, today's video is my March reading wrap-up and April TBR. I cannot believe I just said that. My April TBR. It's April. What the heck? Like, that just baffles me. If you are new to my channel, if you haven't watched my wrap-ups from this year, I've kind of changed how I've done them in the last few months, and I've really liked it. I've kind of made it more of a vloggy style. I kind of take you guys along with me prepping for the wrap-up, and, you know, we go get books if we need to for my TBR, if we're going to the library. We kind of just do it all together, and then ultimately I sit down, I go through all the books that I read in March, and then I discuss all the books that I hope to read in April. So, let's get started. Okay, so it's about 9:20, 9:25, and my library doesn't open until 10, so I want to run a couple errands. I want to go pick up a new release today and then also pick up my hold at the library, return a couple books. So I want to be able to do all of that in one go, and I figured if I leave now, then I'm going to end up in my library parking lot just sitting there waiting for them to open their doors. So I'm going to spend some time now going on my Notion and making sure that's up to date, making sure my reading journal is up to date, and also my Goodreads. So I figure by the time I'm done with all of that, which shouldn't take too long because I feel like I've done a good job keeping up with it, but I'm hoping that when I'm done with that, then we can head out and do the other errands.
I see it in your eyes. Yeah, I can read the signs. You need to get away. It's time we make a change.
Okay, I just finished up everything. It's currently 9:47, so it's perfect. We are gonna head out. I don't know if I want to go to the library first or go pick up the new release first, but either way, let's go. Okay, this is technically the first clip that I am filming in my car. That's crazy. My mom and I got green juices yesterday in San Clemente. It's from Choice Juicery. Interesting. I'd never been before, but she had half of hers left over, so she couldn't take it on the plane. It's the Citralicious. Just a tongue twister, but it is so good. It's like, I don't know. It tastes like a green juice, but because it's not, I don't know how to describe it. It has other stuff in it that makes it actually enjoyable. Okay, let's go get my new release first, I think, because it's only 9:50 and the library isn't too far away, so might as well. Let's go. I just can't believe I have a car. This is nuts.
Oh, it looks so close when I close my eyes. So open the map.
Okay, maybe it was my rookie mistake assuming that my first stop would have the book. So we are just at Target now, and then I'm gonna head to Walmart because it's just like right close. I figured I will check there first, and if they don't have it, we'll go to the library and then go to like Barnes or something. But man, I'm kind of surprised. Like, I didn't even see an empty spot for it. Sus. Anyways, let's go to Walmart.
Know the signs. Been feeling far away. 2 years in a couple of days.
Okay. Store number 2, also a fail. So we are gonna head to the library. I'm gonna drop off the books that I have to drop off, pick up my holds, and then I will, okay, maybe I'll look at the Barnes app to make sure that if I want to go, they have it. I don't know, I'm just like, do I really want to go? Or do I just like order it online? I'm gonna think on it. So I had already pre-ordered one of the books, and then the other book I just planned to get it in person. I didn't think it'd be a big deal, but I haven't seen any of the books that released today in stores, so that's kind of weird. But let's go to the library. Okay, I just got to the library, so I'm gonna run in. Maybe I'll look around too. I love browsing the library. I haven't made like a TBR list. I was working on my summer TBR, like that's helpful. And to me, summer is May, June, July, August. So I was thinking about that TBR. And now I'm like, oh girl, it's April, you're supposed to like figure out TBR, maybe you should do that. So I have a couple books that I have in mind of what I want to read, but overall I don't know, so we could browse around and see if anything jumps out to us.
Oh, I'm slipping away, so don't let me go, nah, 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 nah. I'm all up in that love haze, so where do...
You guys, that was such a success. I checked out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 books. I blocked out a little bit. So now I have to decide if I want to go all the way to Barnes. I say all the way to, it's really not that far. I'm gonna look around and then I'll update you. Okay, if I look on Barnes & Noble's app, it shows that they have it in stock for $16.20. If I look on Amazon, it is, come on, $14.40. So it's only $2 more to get at Barnes. So I'm just gonna go to Barnes and get it. I have a rule: if it's like $10 more to get it at Barnes, I just don't have the means to ignore a book that's $10 cheaper. I would love to support like bookstores, small, big, you know, like as far as bigger being Barnes and Noble, smaller being kind of those indie bookstores, every single time I purchase a book, but it's just not feasible with every single book. I'm not in that monetary position. So $2 more though, that is fine with me. I was struggling because the Barnes & Noble app would not let me sign in. So I'm going to figure that out. But let's go to Barnes.
Go now, now. Just let me know that I am safe here in your arms. I wanna stay, stay. I'm slipping away, so don't let me go now. The love is sick.
Okay, we are ready to do my reading wrap up. Oh my gosh. You can see I have a stack of books back here for my TBR. I have a stack of the books that I read this month. I'm looking around. I feel like this is all, because then the others I think I've already returned to the library or whatever. So let's get into the books that I read in March. Like always, I'm going to talk about the books in the order that I read them. I'm also going to try my best to keep the synopsis part pretty short and sweet and just focus on, you know, my thoughts and opinions and feelings on reading each of the books. And then that way, no risk of spoilers, and you kind of just understand the gist of the book and if you think you would like it. The first book that I read this month was Firekeeper's Daughter by Angeline Booley. I gave this book 3.5 stars. I will say that this book took me by surprise because I just picked it up one night, like, hey, I think I'm in the mood to pick this up tonight, and I read it in one sitting. So I stayed up until like 2 or 3 a.m. to finish this book. I thought I had an idea of what the genre was for this. I was so wrong. This is a young adult mystery. And young adult in the sense that our main female character, Donis, she is like a freshman in college. Like, she just graduated high school. She's taking some classes at the local like college. I don't know if it's a community college or what. But the whole mystery is she is suddenly witnessing a shocking murder, and next thing she knows, she's thrown into this FBI investigation of a new lethal drug. Excuse me? And then we have our main male character, Levi, who is new to town, and he is on her brother's hockey team. It is wild. So they're just trying to figure out what is going on, what is this drug, what's kind of the issue with the reservation, and she's just uncovering secrets and trying to figure out what's going on. This was wild. It was obviously addicting in some way because I couldn't put it down, so yeah, that's what I got. The next 2 books I read were the 6th and 7th book of Harry Potter. So I finished this series, which was so rewarding. So I read Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince and then Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. I read these 2 books to finish up the Read and Watch series part 2. So that is up on my channel. I don't give these books any rating because it just doesn't feel like I could accurately rate the books. Because of how much I love the movies and the world and going to Universal, like all of those things, I could not accurately rate these books. They'd be like, oh my god, 5 stars. But are the books really 5 stars? Like, you know what I mean? So, I read these 2 chunky books. The next few books I'm going to talk about are from my library blindly choosing my TBR, so that reading vlog is up on my channel. The first book that I read for that was Bring Me Their Hearts by Sarah Wolf. I gave this book 3 stars. What was this book? Let's see if I can even remember. So it is a fantasy romance. I believe it is a trilogy, but maybe it's just a series. I don't know. I know that there is another book after it. It was like a vampires meet The Selection. So our main female character had her heart stripped from her by a witch. And so now she's kind of doing this witch's bidding, I guess. And so she can only eat, drink blood. She can eat kind of regular food, but she just feels disgusting and like is very sick from it. So the witch that stole her heart tells her that she can have her heart back and kind of go back to her normal day-to-day, life if she brings her the prince's heart. Hence, Bring Me Their Heart. Why I said it's like The Selection is because our main female character is posing as a potential bride for the prince. So the prince has 3 people staying at the castle, and these women, they're not like fighting or like competing, if you will, but he is just getting to know them. And the whole goal though for her is to take his heart so that she can get her heart back. But obviously it's a romance, so then she's like, oh no, I'm gonna develop a crush. That was that. It was nothing special. It was kind of interesting, so I feel like that's why I gave it 3 stars, because I kind of was intrigued the whole time, but I was also just like, what is this? So I feel like I'm gonna end up reading the second book eventually. I got that book obviously from my library, so I don't think this is a book I would buy, and I would get the second book also from my library. But if that sounds interesting to you in any way, you can, yeah. What was that? The next book I read was The Lying Game by Ruth Ware. Now this was an adult mystery. I wouldn't say this was a thriller either. I did not feel any kind of on the edge of my seat moments, but you are following our main female character. It's just her single POV, but then you have her 3 best friends that back in the day when they were like 16, 17 years old, I think, they all had 1 year together where they spent it at this boarding school. And in that year, something had happened. So flash forward present time, you are seeing that is kind of resurfacing. And so they're getting the band back together and they're trying to just figure stuff out. And so you kind of get glimpses into the past and then current time, and the Lying Game is the fact that when they were at that boarding school, they came up with the Lying Game, and the whole premise was you got points for how well you lied, and like whether or not someone believed you, whether or not it was like just so, obnoxious that like what the heck, or someone partially believed you, all these weird things. And so now it's kind of like flash forward to present time. They're having to lie again, but for something a bit more serious. So it was a very interesting read. For me, it's just the ending that didn't completely, fulfill the entire book. I'm like, wow, I read all this. I really liked everything. And then like, this is how it's ending. Like, I was just like, what? So I did like it. I think I would recommend this because, 3.5 stars is still a good rating. It just wasn't some magnificent book. But I do want to read more of Ruth Ware because this was my first book from her, and I was definitely like captivated the whole time. I was like, this is just bizarre. Like, it was such a cool concept to me. And then if you watch that video, you know that these last 2 books that I had from that reading vlog were just not good. The first one was Ariadne by Jennifer Saint. I DNF'd it at 146 pages. I was like a little over halfway. What was it even about? It was about Ariadne. Exactly. I just think that I really like Greek mythology. I love like movies and TV shows and stuff. And I think I just probably wouldn't enjoy the Greek mythology books that are all about like women empowerment. Because that's what this book kind of felt like. And like, well, maybe that's just not the type of book that I would like regarding Greek mythology, because I have the Percy Jackson books, which I really want to read, and I think I would really like those. So I think it was just this type of like a subgenre of Greek mythology that wasn't for me. I really can't even speak to the plot of it because I'm not entirely sure. I felt like I probably spoke to it more in the reading vlog, so if you want to watch it, you can, but yeah. And then the next one from that reading vlog as well was Artemis by Andy Weir. I DNF'd this so fast, but I think it was like a soft DNF in the sense that I think I would like it at the right time. I just wasn't in the mood for it right now. So I think that was the issue. And keep in mind, I went into this completely blind. So it's like the first 10 pages did not do it for me. I was just like, I'm not feeling this at all. But then when I read the synopsis after kind of soft DNFing it, I was like, I think I would like this. I would like this. So I'm just going to keep that, like, not really speak more to it, because I think I will read it in the future, but that just wasn't for me. That was how that went. And then I started my whole romance era. This book kicked it off. I read Daisy Haites by Jessa Hastings. I gave this book 4 stars. So this was my introduction to Daisy and Julian and getting Christian's POV. I will say it was so interesting because reading Magnolia Parks, obviously you have the whole events from those 2 POVs, and then you get this, that's the same timeline, but different POVs. So I will say I liked how it wasn't repetitive, and it was kind of these moments of just like, if you know, you know, and that was just comforting. It was like, felt like our own little secret, you know? So I really liked this. It took me longer to get into, but 4 stars is still a really great rating. I was just obsessed with Magnolia and BJ probably 10 pages in. And I was like, ah, crap, I'm doomed. But this one just took me longer, but I am very much hooked at this point, and I cannot wait to continue this series. Then the next book I read was You with a View by Jessica Joyce. I gave this book 5 stars. This book is so beautiful and so perfect. I just adore this so much. I believe this is Jessica Joyce's debut romance novel, which is quite impressive because it was just written so beautifully. I was crying like 9 pages in because of how much I was just feeling this book. Magnificent. We are following Noelle and Theo. So before this book even starts, before we hit page 1, Noelle is unemployed, living with her parents, and her grandma has recently passed away. Tough luck, am I right? So Noelle had found a picture of her grandma and an unknown man kind of right before her grandma married her grandpa. And so she's like, okay, clearly these 2 are in love. So what happened that then now my grandma ended up marrying my grandpa? Like, what? So she ends up making a TikTok, hoping it'll go viral and just reach the right person. And it does. Unknown user comments, that's my grandpa. And I'm like, ah. I mean, this is like 5 pages in, guys, and on the synopsis, not a spoiler. So unknown user ends up being her high school like arch nemesis, Theo. It is so precious. And so Noelle wants to meet this guy, wants to meet Theo's grandpa, and then it just kind of takes off from there. Let me see what it, okay, it says it. So I feel like this is the entire book, is that Noelle ends up wanting to take the honeymoon that her grandma and the guy never were able to take. Guys, it was just so beautiful. I cannot recommend this book enough. The next book I read was Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. I gave this book 4.25 stars. This was such a surprising read for me. I would describe this as a fantasy historical romance, because I wouldn't just say fantasy romance. It kind of has this historical feel to it. But wow, this was so unexpected. You are following Iris and Roman, and so Iris is trying to win the columnist promotion at Oath Gazette. She has dropped out of her senior year of high school after her brother is sent off to the war, and she needs to take care of her mother. She needs money, and she knows that getting this promotion will help. So her kind of work rival is Roman, which I also love that name. Iris and Roman. Such pretty names. So the magical element of this is, one, you have like the gods, these 2 gods that are like at war, and it's becoming a whole issue. So that's the war thing going on. But the fantastical element that I really love is you have a magical typewriter where Iris thinks that she's sending letters to her brother Forrest at war, but they're actually going to Roman. That's kind of all it says up there, so I don't want to speak more to it. But yeah, so he kind of sees or knows that's Iris based on what she's saying, but Iris doesn't know that Roman is the one that's writing her back. It's just so pretty and so beautiful. I really adored this book. So a strong 4.25. It's just the lack of comfort I have with this type of genre, I suppose, that made it not like a higher rating, but 4.25 is still so good. And I have Ruthless Vows that I ordered right after finishing this book. So I'm very excited to continue this. You guys thought I was kidding about this romance era? The next book I read was Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. I gave this book 4 stars. I mean, I saw it at my library and I was like, I've seen people talk about it. Let's just pick it up. And I'm so glad that I did. This was my first Abby Jimenez book, and I will say I did overall like her writing. I thought it was pretty well paced. It didn't have this like lyrical, beautiful element to it, but it did feel fast-paced, easy to read, and I like that. I will say I feel like I really like this book because of our characters, and I'm not sure how much I would like her other books, so I'm a little nervous. We are following Brianna and Jacob. They're both doctors, and Jacob has clinical anxiety. The man struggles, especially socially. So he is the new kid on the block at the medical center. So he just kind of starts off on the wrong foot because of his anxiety. It's just the first impressions are not good. And so he ends up writing a letter to Brianna, like another kind of big doctor there or whatever, like apologizing. He writes her a letter to apologize, and he explains that like he just has anxiety and it kind of can come off a different way than he meant it, and like he was sorry. And I'm just like, that is so cute. So they just have this relationship that stems from there. Like they're just getting to know each other, and she is so great about understanding the anxiety that he has. And it's just like the little things. So she like writes him back a letter understanding that that would probably be less anxiety inducing than her going to verbally respond to him, you know what I mean? And it's just a bunch of little moments that made this book so adorable. And I am not, like, I don't have clinical anxiety, but I have a lot of anxious feelings, especially like social situations and stuff. So I thought, like, I just love this book so much because I related to him in moments and understanding his thought process. And I was just like, yeah, I do the same thing. So I feel like that is an element of why I just love this book so much. So I'm interested to see her other books and how well I like them. But this book was definitely a hit for me. And then the last book that I read this month was Culty by Mariana Zapata. I gave this book 4 stars. This was my first sports romance by her. I have read All Roads Lead Here that I gave 5 stars, and then Dear Erin that I gave, I think, 4 stars. And the Dear Erin one, I believe, is like, I'd describe as like a military romance situation. So she is well known for her sports romances. I really did enjoy this. 4 stars is a great rating. I'm surprised I didn't obsess with it more. This is age gap. And one thing about me, guys, I'm going to crush on men that I shouldn't. Like, I was the, like, 8 to 10-year-old crushing on the main male characters in TV shows that were probably, like, 35. And I'm like, wow, he's so cute. I have the biggest crush. And my mom's like, I'm going to have to watch out for her, for sure. And, like, currently, like, I crush on Robert Downey Jr., Paul Rudd. Like, how do you not? You know what I mean? So I'm surprised I didn't obsess with this more, but I still really liked it. It had that classic Mariana Zapata, that slow burn. I'm like giggling at page 400. Like, it was great. Culty is his last name, but he is a well-renowned soccer player that he's just the best of the best. And he retired, but think of sport athletes, like, you retire at a young age, you know, don't think of retirement as like some 60-year-old, you know what I mean? But they have a 12-year age gap. Our main female character, Sal, she is playing on a soccer team, like a women's, like, U.S., like, soccer league type of thing. And he ends up being a assistant coach out of nowhere. And everyone's like, why is Culty here? But Sal did have a crush on Culty when she was a wee lad. She was like 7. He was like 19 in the World Cup, which like equivalent to a World Cup. And so she got over her crush because she's like, he married someone, like had the audacity to marry someone. Like, didn't he know he was supposed to fall in love with me? And I'm like, girl, just wait. Girl, just wait. But it was a very fun romance, I guess, because it was different than what I've read before. I love the Mariana Zapata slow burns, so 4 stars is an amazing rating. it was just interesting to see her kind of have this vision of what Colty is going to be like, and then having him actually there as the coach, and just seeing him then interact with her. It was a fun read. I did like this overall. I did have to see it through. I think it's like 550 pages, like classic, you know what I mean? So, Colty by Mariana Zapata. Okay, I'm going to quickly go over the stats, just a couple of them. So I would say that I read 11 books this month. I'm going to count Ariadne because I reached like the 55-60% mark, and if I reach over 50%, checkbox, okay? I spent so much of my life reading that book that it counts. But I am not going to count Artemis that I pretty much read 5-10 pages of and then closed it. So I read 11 books this month. I read 4,778 pages. That's a lot, especially because I kind of went through these dry spells where I wouldn't read a book for like 4 or 5 days, and then I'd read like 3 books in 3 days. Like, it just was not consistent in any way this month. And then my average rating was 3.9 stars, so that's pretty good, pretty much a 4-star rating. A lot of great reads this month. And then my fave read, of course, You with a View. You with a View. I love it because I put least fave Artemis question mark, because I'm like, can you even count that book if you just completely DNF'd it? But I guess that's the point, is like, that's a book that I tried to read and it just didn't happen. Looking at my TBR set for March, there are 5 books that I didn't get to, but there were 4 books that I kind of intentionally like decided like, you're just not going to read those right now. So the book that I didn't get to that I would have liked to was Iron Flame. But then the books that were on here that I ended up deciding like now's not the time is Interesting Facts About Space, and then the Hunger Games trilogy situation. Hunger Games, Catching Fire, and Mockingjay. I was going to do those books for the Read and Watch series, but I just wasn't really wanting them. I was going to read them in the last week of March, and I just wasn't vibing with it. So I was like, okay, just now's not the time to read those. Okay, now let's get into my April TBR. There's kind of 2 sides to this. So I have a whole stack here, which I am proud to say is all from my library, which just makes me so excited. And then I have another list of books. There are about 4 or 5 books that are coming out in April that I am so excited to read. So I am actually going to be doing a new releases reading vlog this month. So they're coming out kind of throughout the month. So I'm just going to film it throughout the month and put it out at the end. So I'm not going to list or talk about any of those books here, but just be on the lookout for that video at the end of the month. Okay, now let's go through the books that I checked out from my library that I hope to read this month. This first one, you guys are going to be like, what? But my uncle and I decided that we are going to read the Bones series. So you guys know the show Bones? Well, it's based on Kathy Reichs. I believe that's how you say her last name. It's based on her series, which has like 20 books. So this is the first one. The Bone Collection has 4 novellas, and it's a prequel. So I'm excited to start this because I love the show, and it'll just be fun to kind of buddy read this series with my uncle. And then we have my current read, which is Half a Soul by Olivia Atwater. Now, this book, it's like a fantasy Regency romance. I'm totally visualizing Bridgerton as I'm reading this. I'm only 30 pages in. I started it yesterday, I think. So, I'm liking it so far. It's fun. It'll be like a short read, so I'm just kind of, I've seen people talk about it, and I'm like, okay, I have to know what this is about. And then I have The Heartless Hunter by Kristen Cicerelli? I'm sorry, guys, but I mean, like, we've all seen this book everywhere, so yes, I hope to read this in April. The next one, also a hyped up book, and it is A Fate Inked in Blood by Danielle Jensen. I'm nervous, but I'm so glad I got this from my library because I've seen mixed reviews and I was so scared to buy it and then not like it, so glad that I was able to check this out. Then I picked up Renegades by Marissa Meyer. So I believe this is like a retelling, like a fairy tale retelling, but in a crazy way. So I'm excited. This is book 1, but I think you could read them all in whatever order. So we have Cinder, Scarlet, Cress, and Winter. So I think this is probably what, like Little Red Riding Hood? She has a hood. I don't know, but I'm excited to kind of dive into this. I saw Rachel Catherine read the series and she really liked it. Then I picked up The Hunting Moon. Is this? Oh, shoot, guys. This is the second book. I gotta take it back. It just hit me because I saw the back. The Luminaries. I have not read The Luminaries. Okay, well, I picked up The Hunting Moon, but I'm not actually going to be able to read it. So awkward. The last one I picked up from my library was 19 Steps by Millie Bobby Brown. This is one that I really eyed back in September when it was released, but then I never bought it. So I'm very excited to see it at my library, and I don't know, I'm just so excited to read this. Like, Millie Bobby Brown putting out a book? What? I feel like it's giving her Enola Holmes vibes. Like, I remember seeing that kind of when I was researching in the past. And then I didn't include this here, but I have Ruthless Vows by Rebecca Ross. So I obviously just own this book. It's not from the library, but I do want to read this. This is the second book to Divine Rivals. And then I literally just looked, I'm like, girl, you have more books checked out from the library. The last two that are kind of on my TBR is Contact by Carl Sagan. This was a book recommended to me by one of my coworkers because I recommended a book to him and he's like, you should read this first if you haven't. They're not like by the same author or interconnected like in any way, but he just recommended I read this. So I picked it up from the library. And the last one is Beartown. We've seen this everywhere, so I do want to pick it up. I didn't get a chance to. I think I only got it from the library like the last week of March, so it's not like I really had time, but nonetheless, I do want to read this in April. Okay, let's see if I can hold all these books together. How excited are we? Oh my gosh. Like, it's embarrassing that I think I can do this. I can do this. Yeah. This isn't including any of the new releases, though, that I was talking about, so this will be so fun. So these are all the books that I hope to read in April on top of a handful more. This was fun. I always like filming these videos. I like that I don't just do a sit down one. I like that I kind of take you through the process. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in my next one.